Grand Rising, beautiful souls. This morning is going to be a little bit different. TGIM won't be live. However, here it is. So no matter what you want to call it, God, spirit, universe, goddess, creator, source, we are all talking about the same thing. Whatever the hell you want to call it, we are all talking about the same thing. So, love. It all boils down to love, and love can, like, everything can be literally solved with love and compassion and understanding. When we put our human experience aside, when we put our egos aside, and all we got, when we do that, it gives us a chance to see that all we got is love. It doesn't matter about the end game. It doesn't matter about the differences. It doesn't matter. It's that we're just all the same, right? So Amy back here with you for another episode of TGIM. Again, it's going to be a little bit different today, not live. However, here we are. And in honor of spooky season and Scorpio season, I want to talk about those infamous witch hunts. So, I wonder if I could set this. Okay, perfect. A little live feels, but okay. So let's look at the word virgin, okay? It doesn't mean sexually abstinent like we've been programmed or taught to believe, or like how Christianity had us believe. Instead, virgin means sexually independent, okay? A woman on her own power, basically a badass. In fact, the very word virgin derives from the Latin root meaning strength, force, and skill. So a woman on her power, or a person on their power. Okay. Now, the witch hunts started with the rise of Christianity and organized religion, and they pushed the divine feminine, or the worship of the divine feminine, underground. They weaponized it, they demonized it. Her unique relationship to the process of reproduction, of our menstrual cycle, the moon, the stars, nature's cycles, it was ostracized. And so when we practiced magic, or when we practice our magic, and by we I mean women who were healers, intuitives, medicine women, midwives, herbalists, stargazers, energy readers, it was a miraculous thing. Okay, it was a source of power for women, being connected to that which is greater than us. So it's why I have a firm belief that women became the primary targets of patriarchy to set their work on creating fear, control, and manipulation. This was thousands of years ago. So yes, predominantly witch hunts happened to women, but there was men who perished too. Our magic was needed, and yet it was being demonized. And it started in 1484 with Pope Innocent VIII. It was based on a particular Bible statement. Thou shalt not like let a witch live, basically. Exodus 22:18. He gave the church authority to find witches and kill them, denying them all rights to a fair trial. And which for the church was any strong woman who stood in her power, or walked and owned her power. So women, who were healers and midwives, herbalists, intuitives, etc., were labeled as witches and killed. There was also, it wasn't just from the church. It was also from universities and the rise of the medical field. Because there was these men graduating from these universities and becoming doctors and wanting to have that absolute control over the medical world with absolute authority. So to those men or those groups of people, women were a major threat, especially the healers, the herbalists, and the midwives. So yeah, hundreds of thousands, actually lots, just so much, yeah, hundreds of thousands. But particular women were arrested, stripped naked and completely shaven, and often in the presence of men, they were tortured with sadistic inventions in an attempt to get her to prove herself innocent. So like this, the witch wound is real. The women wound, the feminine wound, like it's so real in that aspect. And again, it's not just women, right? It's all of us. Because even if I was, a 30-year-old man watching this woman be raped and tortured, that fear would go in me. That if, I had, yeah, that fear would instill in me simply from witnessing it. And that's what they did. They would gather the witches and publicly humiliate them in their communities and stuff. So historians have intended to wipe out the witch trials, as they failed to mention, and we fail to know that over 13 million souls perished on nooses, tortured with racks, or on torture racks, with rocks and flames and being drowned. Over 13 million. And I feel that. So it's the season of the witch. Something I've been working on is speaking my truth and coming out. So divination, tarot cards, witches, astrology have long been associated with the devil's work. But again, the witch hunt started with organized religion. And anything they didn't agree with, believe in, or understand, we were taught to fear. We were taught to fear the feminine, the intangible, the darkness, and the unseen. And yet, when we plant a seed, we plant it in the darkness of the soil. The moon is gorgeous in all her phases, even in the dark of the moon, which we are currently in right now. Even in our indigenous cultures, the darkness is a sacred place, honoring Creator and the divine feminine, the All-Mother. You think about it, we were also born in the darkness of the womb. And in indigenous cultures, when you go into a sweat lodge, that's what the sweat lodge represents, is the being in that sacred safe space of the womb. So yeah, we are definitely connected. And so great things come from when we dive into the depths of our soul while being connected to something greater than, which is love. So yeah, wow, beautiful. We also see this kind of, mentality when settlers came to Canada. They banished and weaponized Indigenous peoples. But, being indoctrinated into this limiting belief system, we have these underlying beliefs that prevent us and slow us down from living a whole, authentic, and happy and free life. Like it's not okay, like these limiting beliefs that it's not okay to be me, or it's not okay to be myself. I would die if I was different, or it's dangerous to be different and stand out. It's not okay to stand out or speak up or ruffle feathers. It was, dangerous, or just plain fear of one's own power, of what, one's own tuition, what one can create. Driving us to seek external validation and comparing to others, and never feeling good enough or worthy enough or deserving enough. So yeah, we're quite literally creating the hell here on earth for ourselves, if we're in those limiting belief systems. So something we see and hear often about is the importance of Indigenous reconciliation, setting boundaries, honoring our wellness, speaking our truth, living authentically, being an individual and still belonging, despite what others think and believe, despite the backlash, right? And that's because there's a collective shift happening. And prior to 2020, things were booming, right? Like things in the health and wellness industry, people were starting to come out, and now it continues to be more widely researched and understood. So yeah, it's the deep remembrance of our own individual, unique, sacred, and natural connection to that which is greater than us. And the balance that we have with nature, our connection to nature, calling it to be restored. And it is the season of the witch. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with this quote, the famous quote: "Why were we taught to fear the witches and not those who burnt us?" Beautiful. Awesome. I'm so excited for this week ahead. Look out for more spooky content. And don't forget to lead your week with gratitude, your days with gratitude, thanking that which is greater, no matter what you want to call it, for the earth we walk on, the air we breathe, and the fire to fuel our minds, bodies, and spirits. Oh my God, in the water. Yeah, in the water to cleanse us. Okay. Sending you all love. Tomorrow is eclipse season. During the dark of the moon, rest, reflect, restore, and release. Peace. Have a great week.